you're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning and welcome to this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Happy to be back with you guys on this Monday morning. It's another great Monday morning here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I haven't had a chance to look outside today. I'm assuming we're going to get some nice weather today, and yeah, it should be a good one. And for those of you tuning in, we've been doing before we get into anything in this episode, I just want to let you guys know first off about a $100 gift card giveaway that we're doing here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. We'll be announcing the winner live next week at the end of our Rise and Shine Manitoba broadcast. We're doing a $100 gift card giveaway with a lacrosse brand from Winnipeg, Manitoba called the Lax Boys. And yeah, basically they're a lacrosse brand made by 4 kids still in school, along with the help of their cousin, and their goal is to grow the game of lacrosse through their brand. And basically how you can enter to win this $100 gift card giveaway prize is if you go in the link of the description of this episode, we'll have all the details on where you can enter down below. You can either enter on Facebook, on our Instagram, or on our Twitter. Either one of those works. You click on the link that's given to one of those in our description of this episode, and then it'll take you to a post. It'll show you how to enter. You follow all the steps, and once you complete those steps, you'll be entered in to win a $100 gift card giveaway prize from the Lax Boys. The draw, of course, the winner announcement goes next week at the end of Rise and Shine Manitoba. We'll be announcing the winner live on our broadcast then, and it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's it for the details on the giveaway. We'll get into who the first guest is joining today before we run the intro. It's the Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, Adam Wedlake, and he's here to just talk about just what's been going on with Basketball Manitoba during this pandemic, just what challenges the pandemic has posed to basketball here in Manitoba, and some other things too. So please welcome in with joining me, Adam Wedlake, Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. Joining me now, Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, Adam Wedlake. I'm muting his mic right now because I'm hearing some echo through his side of the broadcast, and to be honest, that'll get a bit annoying. But we're going to unmute him now, just figure out how he's doing on this Monday morning. Adam, how's it going?
Good morning, Graeme. Good to see you, and happy to join.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to just talk about just what's been going on with Basketball Manitoba during this time. Of course, cases here in Manitoba getting a lot better. 93 new cases as of Sunday. I'm not sure what the case numbers are going to be looking like today, but looks like we're looking pretty good and potentially might be getting back to seeing sports like basketball come into play. Just what's the optimism like around Basketball Manitoba now of seeing us get back to normal here?
Well, yeah, it's been a year like no other. Really, like every other sport, every other part of society, we're definitely not immune to to everything that's happened and currently still happening. The current health orders that we're still under are expiring or maybe being renewed this coming Saturday, the 26th of June. So we'll know hopefully in the next day or two what that may look like. Sport is sort of treated somewhat differently, being if it's an outdoor sport or activity or an indoor sport, with outdoor being given an extra little chance to start up a bit earlier because of the your space and sharing of air and touch points and all that. So we're hoping to hear something middle of this week coming up, and then that is a level of frustration, to be honest, because we will find out probably sort of once everybody else finds out publicly, and then we'll have to react on how if at all we can see some basketball come back in some capacity.
Yeah, for sure. And it'd be awesome to see basketball come back, of course, because like we want to see all kids play, right? Obviously, that is I think one of the most important things out of this whole experience. But just talking about the experience of COVID-19, just how it's been for basketball in Manitoba over this past year. Just I guess talking about now, what the restrictions allow for basketball to actually have for you guys to be able to do.
Well, it's still quite limited. The only allowance is outdoor sports in a casual environment of up to 5 people from as many as 2 different households. So, and still socially distanced. So it's, in our eyes, that means you and 4 others could head to an outdoor basketball court, still staying separated, maximum of 2 households converging at the same time, and basically training or shooting on your own. There's no 3-on-3 play, 5-on-5 play, even 1-on-1 play is not permitted. So it's extremely casual, and not much you can do with that. It's okay. It gets people out, and I see a lot of outdoor courts in the neck of the woods I live in, and they're relatively busy, not busy as normal would be this time of year. But it's good to see some people getting out and just getting a little bit of exercise and some movement away from the screens and enjoying the nice weather we've had. So yeah, it's almost as restrictive as it's been at any time of this last year. So we'll be coming out from if anything were to happen this coming weekend, will be basically what we call as phase 0, part of our national body Canada Basketball's return to play plan. So we're at phase 0, which is not even a step yet. We're hoping this coming weekend we might see a step, and that'll be a step forward versus a step back is always good.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Always the positive and stepping forward rather than stepping back. No doubt about it. But could you just talk about throughout the past year with this pandemic, just what have the meetings been like throughout just members of Basketball Manitoba, just the things that have been discussed to, just potential things that you guys could be able to do during this time to make up for, for kids losing the season, just stuff like that.
Well, we've just like everything last March, middle of last March 2020, which feels like a lifetime ago. It's only a year and change. When the first, I guess, shutdown started to happen, it was right in the middle of our provincial championship. So sadly, players and teams were finding out about the shutdown. Some cases were like at halftime of their game to be told, all right, the rest of the game's not being played. Sadly, those that were in grade 12 at the time are finding out, and some move on to the next level, but most a grade 12 season is, for the majority of players out there, sort of the pinnacle and a provincial championship that they were just heading into, or literally in the midst of finding that out midstream. And then again, at the time we thought, okay, it's going to be quiet for 2, 3, 4 weeks and we'll come all back and be strong again in the spring. And here we are a year and a half, almost a year and a half into it, and still sort of in that same uncertainty. So we saw some programming come back last July, August through until October, until that, I guess they call the second wave, locked things down for us. So there was some activity happening, nothing competitive wise. So there's not been a basketball game played that involves 2 teams, a schedule, fans, referees, scorekeepers since last March. So we've not had the ability to even have any games. So it's been 100%, if at all, training. Sometimes individually, but recently, until those last shutdowns, I guess of this third wave, I guess they called it, we're in right now, closed things down on May 8th. We did have, we were allowing 5-on-5 full court scrimmaging, which was as close as we got to back to basketball in a year. And then now for the last, I guess, 6 weeks now, or maybe a bit more, it'll be, we're sort of back to square zero, and we'll see what this week brings. Every day is a different day to expect. It could be a huge step forward. It could be a baby step forward. We don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the most positive things that I've seen in a while in the news, just talking about COVID-19 in terms of the cases, is that number that was given yesterday of 93 new cases, which is great, just considering where we've been at certain points during this pandemic. But just in terms of what's going to be happening when restrictions kind of lift, when they ease up a bit, what are we going to be seeing the most from just different camps, different things to do with basketball here in Manitoba?
Well, yeah, there's definitely a number of camps that are in the wings right now, waiting to get back in some capacity. Most of them are being planned for indoors, sometimes through July, and a few in August right now. And ultimately, it's at the call of the Manitoba Provincial Health, or sorry, the Public Health, to make that call of what is permitted. If it's only an outdoor sport activity allowed, many of those camps, I predict, will shift their gears to be outdoors. But again, it's also, what can you do outdoors? Like, will there be, and this is not just basketball, this is thinking of other sports that would be active and busy this time of year, thinking of baseball and soccer and football sort of coming up soon. What can we do? Is it purely just, okay, you can have, like, when we've seen all versions of it, whether it's one-on-one, like one player, one coach. We've seen 5 players in a space, but they have to be socially distanced. They have to be outdoors. So that's the frustrating part. We understand that this is where we're one small little tiny cog in the wheel of everything out there. But to be able to plan sort of at the drop of a hat of what could or could not happen, it's been putting a lot of our plans to the test of what we can pull up. But like you said, there are a number of camps that have announced themselves, all of them with a caveat of health restrictions permitting. And if and when there were to be no camp, then all the camps that we're helping promote would give full refunds back to the participant if and when that were to happen. So it's low risk, but it's still people want to get out and be active, but also in a safe way.
Let's talk about some of those camps now. Just talking about the Lakers Academy hosting basketball summer camp for girls ages 14 plus from August 23rd to August 27th. This is going to be happening, of course, on those dates, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Winnequa Community Center. So in my home, I guess in my neighborhood of Windsor Park here, and the cost is going to be $85, and just it's going to give an opportunity for participants to learn from 6 of Winnipeg's top coaches. So space is limited right now, as you guys have said. How much space is open to this point? Can you give us a number on that?
Yeah, it's a camp being run by one of our members. So specifically, that was just announced. That camp was just announced a few days ago. So I imagine there's still definitely room. Mm-hmm. When we're talking a camp or an activity that's happening in late August, I said this word, a term already, that feels like forever from now. Like we've all grown accustomed to living 2 weeks at a time. Like long-term planning these days is thinking of like mid-July. And to sort of think of stuff happening in mid-August is like, oh, that's gonna take forever to get to there. It will come fast, of course, but there's that, and there's a number of other camps that have announced themselves that are happening in July as well. That you can find on our website. Probably the best, anybody who's interested in looking at getting some camps or back active again. It's our website is basketballmanitoba.ca. We have a camp section right on the main part of our site that you can see, and things will be updated, hopefully for the better, that we'll see more camps come as restrictions relax. I know that there's a number that are just holding off, waiting until we hear some more formal news before announcing, but they could also be, like I said a second ago, it may only be outdoor activities permitted. We just don't know, and that could shift some of these camps to go outdoors, but some may unfortunately not have that choice. So we're excited to see our membership get back into programming mode and to get kids hopefully active. And then through the summer months is typically when we see a lot of basketball camps occur. And so we'll be hopefully we'll see a lot of them happen like we did have last summer. Was actually not too bad, all things considered. With then the hopes that come this fall, we would see a return of competition, which could involve both at the club level, school level, and others, including at the higher levels, university, college, and so on, which have also been impacted by this. And that's still a big question mark of how and where and when that could look like.
Well, yeah, and it should. I'm hoping that all these camps happen along with everyone. I'm assuming. Yeah, we were going to talk about a lot more other camps, but I'm actually going to let you go now, Adam, because I am noticing the time we need to bring on the new guest, the next guest soon, very soon after this break. But we'll stay in touch and we'll talk more about these camps as they happen, and it would be great to have you back on the show if you want to come on again.
Great. Always happy to talk, Graeme. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, Adam. Take care. That was Adam Weblake, Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, joining the show first on this Monday morning here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. After the break, I'll be talking to the next guest on today's episode. His name is Isaak Fast. He's a volleyball player from Winnipeg, Manitoba. He is a setter. He got selected to Canada's U21 national volleyball team. I'll be back after the break to bring in Isaak to just talk about the selection to getting selected to the national team, as well as his history in the sport of volleyball and just what he's expecting moving forward with this national team. All coming up on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. But first, we'll go to our first commercial break here on today's episode.
Why go solar? It's not just for the environment, although that is a great reason. Did you know that when you install your new solar plant, you are only paying 7 cents per kilowatt? That's right, 7 cents! Solar is now cheaper than buying electricity, 25% cheaper than buying it from Manitoba Hydro. Going solar is different from any other investment you will make in your life, as you will retain the value on your roof. Solar does not depreciate like other investments do, and unlike a GIC, your investment will start paying you from day one. And when you choose to sell your home, well, you will get the cost of the solar back, as this investment rarely depreciates. When choosing solar, look for high-end products like microinverters with 10 to 25-year warranties. Make sure your installation is done by a professional. We are Evolve Green, and we are celebrating 12 years in the industry and can help you put your roof to work for you. Ask also about your options like battery backup for when the grid fails, and how about solar heaters to get rid of snow buildup? Are you a farm or a business? Did you know that your solar is a 100% tax write-off? Yes, that's right. You can write off all the cost for the solar in the year you purchased it. This is a perfect investment for any business. In Manitoba, the portion a resident customer sells to Hydro is also a tax write-off in the first year. Farms pay no PST on solar systems. We build, design, and supply the best in solar power for both on and off the grid. For experts you can trust, call or email Evolve Green today. 1-866-5-EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Of course, Adam Wedlake, Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, joined us first on this edition of the show. And like Adam said, there's a lot of camps that are still going to be announced. There's a lot of camps that have been announced and are ready to go, just hoping that restrictions allow them to have those camps. So if you guys want to check out any of the camps on Basketball Manitoba's website, if you want to put your kid in one of those camps today, or if you want to sign up for maybe one of the coaching clinics or one of the coaching programs yourself, be sure to check out Basketball Manitoba's website at basketballmanitoba.ca. So welcome back to the show, everyone. Moving into the next guest in this episode, he's a volleyball player. He plays setter. He got selected to Canada's U21 national team, student of the University of Manitoba, graduate of Westgate Mennonite Collegiate. It's Isaak Fast joining me second on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Isaak, how are you doing this morning, buddy? How's things been for you during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Thanks for having me on the show, first of all. I'm really excited to be here. The pandemic has proved to be a little tricky, especially when getting ready to go out to Gatineau this coming weekend. But with the nice weather, I've been able to do a lot of working out outside, and it's really allowing me to continue to stay in decent shape.
Yeah, that's great. Just getting that opportunity to work out outside, obviously staying in shape is great. And you got a big weekend coming up for yourself, just traveling out to Gatineau, Quebec. Just how excited are you to make that move out to there for the upcoming months?
It's definitely a dream come true, to say the least. I'm elated to be going out there. It's been something that's kind of been on my mind and in the back of my head for probably about 15, 16 months. Just the thought of maybe making this team and getting the train out there. So crazy exciting weekend. It'll be awesome. I couldn't be more happy, couldn't be more excited. It's going to be a great experience for me.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, this is a long time coming, a dream come true for you. And I think that this is probably on your mind. It was said on the article that was put out by Volleyball Canada, just announcing the roster, that this roster has the chance to potentially have athletes that could go to the Olympics. So just hearing that this could lead to you going to the Olympics one day, just how surreal could that feeling be if that would happen?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I thought I would never hear before in my life, having kind of my name and an Olympic Games kind of associated in the same sentence. So that's something that I really haven't wrapped my head around. But I think it's really awesome on Volleyball Canada's part. They're really emphasizing the fact that regardless of what team you're on, right? So there's a U19 team, there's a U21 team, and then there's a next gen team. And then obviously our Olympic A team, right?
Right.
And what Volleyball Canada is doing is they're really ensuring and making sure that everyone in the program feels like they're contributing to one common goal, right? Which is obviously to medal at, perform well, and maybe even win, right? The volleyball tournament at the Olympic Games, right? Regardless of regardless if it's 2021, 2024, 2028. So Volleyball Canada is doing really good at making us feel like it's one big family. And there's still a lot of work to be put in if that's a dream that I want to chase, but it's still pretty cool to hear.
Let's speak about let you talk about just the work that you've been able to do. Of course, you said you've had a chance to do some work outside, just staying in decent shape. Can you just talk about some of the stuff that you've been working on during this time of the pandemic?
Well, the University of Manitoba and Bison Strength have been awesome for me, helping me work out, giving me stuff to do at home, and it's primarily right now not a ton of weights, but a lot of conditioning and getting my body ready to jump as much as I'm going to be jumping in these next few months. So they've been great with helping me out. So a lot of sprinting, a lot of jump rope, a lot of resistance bands, and it's it's a lot of work, and it would be a lot more challenging if I didn't have everyone in the corner or everyone in my corner that I do, if that makes sense. I have great support, both not only with like my strength and conditioning training. The head coach at U of M, Lupo Ludwig, he's been awesome, and he's really helped me out. The mental performance coaches at U of M have also been awesome, and they've really helped me out how to kind of prepare for this kind of moment and how to prepare for being away from home. This is getting like the longest stint I'll ever be away from my parents, which I'm excited about, but it's going to bring on its own challenges, like learning how to cook and learning how to make my own meals. But there's plenty of people who are supporting me all the way, and it's great to know that they have my back.
Well, what is unfortunate is that I can't hear you right now, Isaac. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get you to rejoin the stream, Isaac. So I'm going to take you from the broadcast booth right now. We're going to get you to rejoin the stream. We're going to take another quick commercial break on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. We'll get Isaac back here in just a moment to talk more about volleyball and just the selection to Team Canada's U21 team that is going to be participating in the Nhl Championships coming up this year. So stick with us. We're going to go to another commercial break here in the show. I'll have Isaac back in just a moment. And stay tuned. Stick with us here on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Back on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Isaac, say something so I know I can hear you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, man, I still can't hear him. Man, this is unfortunate. I don't understand it. It's something on my side. It's crazy because everyone else can probably hear what you gotta say, but I can't seem to hear you. So, this is, what's this in the pickle here? I'm not quite sure what to do. You know what? That's tough. We'll try going to one more commercial break. We'll get you back in here, and then if not, we'll do a pre-recorded interview and use it for next week. My apologies, folks. We're going to go to another commercial break here. We're going to try to get Isaac back in where I can actually hear him. I'm sure you can all hear him, but I can't for some reason. But stick with us. Isaac he'll be back in just a moment, and we'll get him to rejoin the stream here once again. You're watching Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions, but we'll go to another commercial break here. We'll have Isaac back in just a minute. All right, I think I can hear you now, Isaac. Try talking to me here, buddy.
How about now? We good?
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Awesome.
I was getting nervous there for a sec. I was getting nervous because, this doesn't really happen when we're live. But, welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba. I've been joined by Isaak Fast, setter, graduate of Westgate Mennonite Collegiate. He is a student of the University of Manitoba, and he got selected to Canada's U21 volleyball national team, and he'll be competing in a world championship coming up later this year with this team. But I'm not quite sure where we left off, but let's talk about this. You got to be together, just get to play with a bunch of different faces from around the country. Just how excited are you to be able to get that opportunity to meet all these new faces from not just places like Ontario, but places like Alberta and other places in Canada?
Well, for sure, I'm extremely lucky to be able to compete with and play with the best under 21-year-olds in Canada. I'm grateful for the opportunity. It's going to be really exciting. I've worked with certain Volleyball Canada programs before, and it's awesome, the environment and the culture that they create. So we're already meeting virtually, and the guys seem awesome. My head coach, Ryan Marsden, and our assistant coaches, Gabe DeGroot and Ian Ebbett, are fantastic people. I got to work with them a little bit virtually last summer. We had a virtual U21 team. It was composed there's about 30 athletes. So we were lucky enough to kind of already get to meet each other and kind of build our relationships starting last summer, which was really great because obviously everything was shut down due to COVID. I've been able to meet some of the guys in person in prior years through club volleyball at nationals and stuff like that. And the Volleyball Canada picked a great group of guys. I couldn't be happier to get to play and get to meet and socialize with all these faces. So.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for sure. So you've already had a chance to meet these guys, some of these coaches, the coaching staff virtually last year. Just talk about what the virtual sessions have been like for you guys this year so far.
So far, it's been a lot of housekeeping. As you can imagine, there's a lot of protocols that we have to follow and things that we have to make sure that we kind of go through. So we've been meeting with Safe Sport Canada, just ensuring that we know our rights and know everything that we can expect when we go down there. We've been meeting with our mental performance coach. We're meeting with our team dietitian this coming Wednesday. So it's a lot of information to take in, but the guys are all showing up and they're really excited, I can tell. So it's a lot of housekeeping so far. We haven't really gone into what kind of systems we'll be running or anything of the sorts. But either way, I know everyone's excited.
And you're gonna get a chance to travel to Italy/Bulgaria to play volleyball from September 23rd to October 3rd is when the World Championships are scheduled to take place. Just how unreal is that feeling going to be able to travel to places like Italy and Bulgaria?
It's it's crazy. I've only been outside of North America once, and it'll be really cool just to be able to get down there. It was just made official that we are in a pool with Cameroon, Brazil, and Russia. Wow. And we'll be playing out of Sofia, Bulgaria, which is, from what I've seen on the pictures, it looks gorgeous. And to get to compete against powerhouse countries like Russia, Brazil, and Cameroon it's gonna be awesome, right? Because you want to go down there, you want to play against the best, and I think we've been given that opportunity, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Exciting just getting to compete against the best in the world from other countries, which is going to be really cool. So you already know what the pool is going to be looking like, what place you guys are going to be playing in. Have you had a chance to get a look at what the schedule is going to look like for you guys once the World Championships roll around?
I actually don't have any idea. I do know, though, that the roster is... right now, we currently have 19 men on the roster, and I don't think we can travel with all 19. So some of us will get to go and some others won't. But I think either way, regardless if I am one of the athletes who gets to go or not, I think it's going to be a great experience for the team, right? Regardless if you go or not. I don't really know what the schedule will look like, but I'm sure they'll keep us pretty busy, but also make sure we have our downtime that's necessary.
So just knowing that there's no certainty that you will be one of the guys, one of the players going to the World Championships, just what's your focus going in, heading into just the sessions in the upcoming months to just proving that you could be that guy to go?
Well, for sure, waking up every day and trying to learn, right? Trying to learn from my coaches and from my own teammates. I know that there's still a lot for me to know and plenty of ways for me to grow as a volleyball player. And I trust that my coaches and my teammates can help me figure that out. Also just waking up grateful and realizing that I've been given an opportunity that's life-changing, right? And I know I'm going to carry it with me forever. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to put my trust in my coaches that they're going to send the best athletes that they can to represent Canada well at the World Championships. And if I'm one of those athletes, that's awesome. And that'd be fantastic. That would be another dream come true. But either way, like getting to kind of go to battle every day on like in practice and in scrimmages with the 19 athletes that we have right now is going to be fantastic. And I'm here for the team, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. It's going to be awesome to see, who makes it to being on that world championship team, who's going to be able to go to Sofia, Bulgaria. But let's talk about just stuff besides the national U21 team, the U21 national team. Let's talk about just you as a volleyball player. Of course, you're a setter. That's your position. Why for you would setter be that option that you chose to that being your position?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, to start off, I guess it's good to know that I'm not the tallest fellow. I mean, in
me either.
Relatively speaking. There are plenty of guys who are a lot taller than me, and if I had to play at this level as an outside, it would not go well. You can ask any of my teammates, but if I had to hit the ball, it wouldn't be the best. Setting was a thing that I really started to pick up probably when I was 16, 17. Before then, I was athletic enough that I could squeak by kind of playing whatever position the coach needed. But I was lucky enough that I got to have a coach. His name is Lindsay Habib. And he was able to kind of take me under his wing and teach me how to set at a high level. And I think it's really entertaining for me because I view it as so much more of a mental game than it is physical, right? Trying to be deceptive for the other team's blockers so that I can provide my attackers with a one-on-one or an empty net, right? And it's almost like a chess match. I'm not good at chess at all, but just good comparison, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That is an interesting comparison, a chess match for sure. And I think there's a lot of sports, like any sport, you can kind of look at the strategy side of things and kind of look at it like a chess match or a strategy game for sure. Just for you, going to Westgate Mennonite Collegiate, you had a chance to play volleyball there. You played for the Windman Volleyball Club as well as the Winnipeg Strike. Just being able to play in all those different places against various types of competition, just how did that help you grow as a volleyball player throughout the years? Yeah,
I think that each team that I was on provided me with a new experience and a new ways to grow. Westgate, obviously, we're a AAA school, so a lot smaller and a lot just not as populated as your Dakotas and your St. Paul's and the schools that typically play in Quad A.
Yeah.
But I think playing with Westgate really taught me how to be an effective leader and how to also enjoy the fun part of the game, right? I was so lucky to get to play with four of my best friends in the entire world throughout high school. Toby Bergman, mutual friend of the show, who was on last week, being one of them.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to get to just have those great memories, right? Even though that the volleyball wasn't as high level as I have played, it was still fantastic, and I wouldn't trade that at all. Windman, it was kind of the first place where I played club volleyball, I guess you could say. I started practicing with them when I was about 11 or 12, and I played with them all the way up until I was 17. And it was great. It was awesome experience. The club director there, Tim Aw, is an amazing man. He still reaches out to me today. And they've all three of those teams have really provided me with experience and knowledge about how to compose myself on the court and what a successful athlete looks like, and kind of just growing overall as a person. So extremely grateful.
Just so I can't hear you once again, but I'm going to ask you two more questions. And then we'll let you go, and then we'll bring on the next guest in this show. But just for you, throughout the years of playing in places like for Westgate Mennonite Collegiate, not playing at as high as a level as you have, but just playing there, playing at places like for Windman Volleyball, and as well as the Winnipeg Strike, just throughout the years, how is your game kind of, I guess, how it's developed over the years of you becoming the setter you are now?
Well, I guess the biggest thing that I learned as a setter, the most important job is that to make sure that you locate the ball well, right? That you give your setter, or that you give your attacker, a good ball to hit. And I think that that's something that I really struggled with early on in my career as a setter. I would set the balls and they'd be all over the place. And with kind of constant practice and acknowledgement that I was screwing up, it took a lot of work to make sure that my location was good enough to compete at a high level, and also decision making, right? That's another really important role as a setter, to make sure you're making the right choices, because essentially you're controlling the floor, right? The offense runs through you. You touch the ball on almost every play. So making sure that regardless of what the pass looks like, I'm going to make a good decision, and that'll lead to a good set. And that's something that that's something that you know and learn through experience and playing. So those are probably the two biggest ways in which my game has improved over the last couple of years. So, yeah.
And last question before I let you go now, I'm assuming like your goal right now with the University of Manitoba is to, you're on their volleyball team. You haven't had a chance to play any games yet due to the pandemic. So just what does it look like just with your participation with the university? Have you guys been able to do some things still? I think you spoke about some strength training earlier in the show that you've been doing with them.
Yeah, a great benefit of going to the University of Manitoba is that we have our own training gym at the U of M in Frank Kennedy Center, and we also have excellent strength coaches who work with our teams and work with players individually. So we're extremely lucky with that, and they've been working with athletes throughout the pandemic when gyms were shut down. There have been periods where restrictions allowing, we've been able to go in and work out as a team and individually in practice. So that's kind of what we're expecting for the coming months. Obviously, U of M, there's a lot of history there in Bison's volleyball, so it's pretty cool to get to throw on that jersey and play. And I'm not sure if you know, but we're hosting the 2021-2022 men's volleyball championships in March of 2022, I guess. And that means that we get an automatic bid, and that we'll get to go and compete against the best universities in the country. And that's really exciting when you have a chance to win a national title. So we have a great group of guys on the team, and I know that they're all putting in hard work. So it's great.
Well, that's awesome, Isaak. I wish I could hear what you're actually saying, but I'm sure you gave some great answers there. That was Isaak Fast, a setter selected to Canada's U21 national team. Will have you on the show, whether you make it to the final roster or not leading up to the World Championships, but we'll stay in touch. We'll get you back on the show again at some point this year and just kind of ask about how the experience is going and stuff like that.
That sounds awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem, Isaac. That was Isaak Fast, setter from the University of Manitoba. He is, of course, selected to Canada's U21 volleyball national team, or however you pronounce it. I'm not sure how you pronounce it exactly, but we're going to call it Canada's U21 volleyball national team. We're going to go to another commercial break here in the show. We're going to bring in the next guest. I feel like it's going to be another great episode with him, another great segment. Harry Siemens on the Farm Report joins me next here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. But first, another commercial break here on the show.
Welcome back.
Why go so?
Oh my goodness. Just I'm having trouble finding the commercial here, folks. We'll get you the commercial right away. My apologies.
Big Systems Beauty College is a little bit unique in respect to the way we teach our program. We don't do so much structure and learning and block teaching. Everybody can move along at the pace that suits them. Everybody can move along at the pace that suits them. If they can move faster, they do so. Therefore, learning everything earlier and getting more practice in all segments of hairstyling as opposed to just being stuck in one section for a certain period of time. So we try to accommodate all the different learning styles.
Welcome back to this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Once again, my apologies for just the technical difficulties today. It hasn't happened in a while here. It might just be the mic I'm using because that's when the problem arises. But you guys could all hear what Isaak had to say. Isaak Fast, member of Canada's U21 national volleyball team, joined me on the show to just talk about being selected to the team. We talked about just the things that are going to be leading up to it, just the training that he's been doing. We also talked about some other things too, like his experiences in volleyball in high school, playing for Westgate Mennonite Collegiate, talking about him playing for the Windman Volleyball Club, and as well as the Winnipeg Strike. And we also talked about his time with U of M as well. But now we're going to move into just our last segment here on the show. Well, one of our last segments coming up after this last segment. It's going to be Graeme's opinion and introduction of a new segment. And before we introduce this next guest, I just want to apologize for the spam of different little clips you guys saw. I was trying to find the commercial, but I was having some trouble there. But yeah, we're going to bring in the final guest on today's episode, Harry Siemens of the Farm Report, and he's going to give us all an update of what's going on in agriculture here in Winnipeg, Manitoba since the last time that we've talked, since last week. So let's get the Farm Report graphic up now, the little clip. Of course, the Farm Report sponsored by Wolf Enterprises, and the man himself, Harry Siemens, joins me now. Harry, talk to me. I assume I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Well, I can't seem to hear you, so we're going to get you to rejoin the stream. I'm not quite sure what's happening on this morning. It's giving me some headaches, but it's giving me a headache, I should say. We're going to get Harry back here on the show in just a moment. Harry, I'm going to get you to exit the studio, rejoin the link, and I hope I can hear you when you come back. We'll go to yet another commercial break here on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Let me just find a commercial here because we're running out of commercials. We're going to show you another commercial from Evolve Green. We'll get Harry back in just a moment on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. We'll get him on the farm report, and yeah, we'll be back in just a moment.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Alrighty, welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. Of course, like I said before, Harry Siemens, the guy who is, of course, the man of the Farm Report here on the show. Of course, the Farm Report sponsored by Wolf Enterprises. We'll play the little graphic we got here to welcome in Harry now. Hopefully we can hear him on this Monday morning. If not, I guess we'll have to reschedule. But Harry, try talking to me if I can't hear you.
Good morning.
I can hear you. I can hear you. That's awesome.
Great.
Harry, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining me this morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's
That's good.
a lovely morning, and here we are.
Yeah, well, it's great that I can hear you. It's great that we're going to have a chance to talk about agriculture here in Manitoba since the last time that we've talked. So, yeah, what's been going on in the agriculture world here in Manitoba since July 14th? I mean, June 14th.
Well, you know, very much the same as maybe the last week. I mean, we talked last week about the rains and how beneficial they were. And now we're continuing to wait for more rains, and the other rains were very beneficial, but hot weather and winds depleted soil moisture levels again to a large extent. So we're not every places. There are some places that have good moisture, other places that are waiting. And so I did an interview with Brunel Sabrin. He's an agronomist from Antera Agronomy. He and his wife run the company, and he's from St. Jean, Manitoba. And I talked to him last week, and he described the crop conditions across the province as good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, so we've been dealing with flea beetles, and basically that season is behind us. So they've been controlled and looked after for the canola, and now of course we've got grasshoppers, and grasshoppers don't choose crops. They just devour what comes in their way. And so because we've had 2 to 3 years of relatively dry weather, as Brunel told me, he says the grasshopper stands continue to expand each year because you know, when it's dry, they flourish. So we've seen grasshopper damage in ditches. We've seen grasshopper damage in crops on the edge of the fields. We've seen grasshopper damage in pastures. And so right now, it's an interesting time. People are going to be using fungicides, but as Brunel said, you have to make sure there's enough crop to make sure that fungicides work, and that basically looks after some fungus that develops in crops, and so people use that as a management tool in order to control them. So spraying. If you hear the airplanes flying and the big high boys driving, that's looking after the crop and managing the crop protection products so that to give the crop the best opportunity. And it's totally different management when you're working with various weather conditions and also moisture conditions. You know, it's and Brunel also told me, he says you'll see in one part of the field the crops have developed better because there was more moisture. In another part of the field, it's a little bit different. And when moisture isn't as adequate as we've had over the years, then a little bit can do a lot to change from one part of the field to the other.
Yeah, and just something that I'm curious about is just the technology there is now. I guess not technology, but just the products out there like sprays and just stuff that can help protect against insects with crops and stuff like that. What are the like? Could you just talk about how far sprays and stuff like that have come?
How helpful?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Totally helpful. You take an infestation of canola or flea beetles in canola. I mean, they could devour that crop, and that crop is, you know, this year it's going to be a little different because the stands are different. But excuse me, you can take a canola field at 40 bushels to the acre, for example, and the amount of dollars that farmers get for that canola, and if they cannot stop the damage, it can destroy the crop. It can mean a huge loss or a huge gain. And so crop protection, you have the pesticides, which kill insects, and you also have those that kill disease and also kill weeds. So all of that is in there. It's managed so tightly. It's all done by calibration of sprayers and computers and GPS and the kinds of things. I remember when my father would go out and first of all, I can see him standing on top of a sprayer with a 5-gallon pail of chemical, and he would dump it into it, and some would splash on his pants, and it was horrible. No gloves, no mat, nothing. There was no protection, and so there was no electronics to measure where you went on the field and whether you left out. So that was all done human error, human. And now the guys can just, the GPS and there's different technologies involved. They can basically go down the field and they don't even overlap an inch. It's just like precision. It's called precision agriculture. And that's what makes using those products so much better, because you're not wasting and you're not spraying unnecessarily. Your application is on that particular crop that you want, and then from there, and when we look at the various companies that have developed the various products, the testing and knowing that it's safe for human health and so forth, is phenomenal. It takes probably $1 billion to bring a new product online, and it may take 5 to 7 years to do so. And so it's quite a intense agriculture that we're involved in today.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just of how things used to be done back then compared to how they're done now. A lot safer now than back then, for sure. But just other than sprays and pesticide stuff like that, could you speak about just the technology we see today in terms of equipment like tractors and stuff like that?
Yes, I mean, I grew up. My dad was a John Deere man, green color. And so we drove lots of John Deere tractors, but I remember from the smallest tractor that would be like the smallest field tractor that we had would be like a yard tractor today. That's the difference. You get in, and then we had diesel, and then we had gas, and now you can have diesel and gas, and so you have tractors that have tracks, just like Caterpillars used to have. Yeah. And the reason they have tracks is it doesn't compact the soil. When you're driving with the rubber tire wheels and the heavy equipment, and often you would be driving in the same tracks year after year, you would compact the soil. And when you compact it, it doesn't have the same energy. It doesn't do the same thing for the seed that you put into it. So now we have compaction, we have tracks, and horsepower. You know, you're looking at 400, 500, 600 horses under a under a tractor, and that tractor can well cost in the upwards of $750,000, maybe $1 million. And so
Wow.
yeah, and that's kind of the technology that's gone in, even though the engines are still engines, right? but the technology, the automatic shifting, and all of that, and the comfort of the cab. I mean, they can set the GPS and go from one end of the field to the other, which is like a half a mile, would be like 3/4 of a kilometer, pretty well.
Yeah.
And they can. You see guys with their computers because it's auto steer. I mean, that GPS steers that tractor, and
Wow.
and they don't, you know.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's nuts. Just
I'm going to just tell you one quick story about my friend Rolf Penner. He farms at Morris, Manitoba, just east, and he tells me how he got into what's called auto steer, and there's a Hutterite colony across the road from him. And one day he sees a tractor coming down the field, and he sees the driver in that tractor with his feet on the steering wheel and reading a magazine and driving straight. And Rolf hadn't gotten into that kind of technology, but when he saw his neighbor's boy, you know, relaxing while, you know, that's when he went out and bought his first used auto steer where he could now also relax from one end to the other.
Wow, that's a great story. And yeah, it's crazy what technology has allowed us to do, and just these prices that you've been telling me about. Lots of money, obviously, an investment to invest in technology and equipment like this nowadays. Just is there certain farmers out there that might need a bit more help in terms of raising this type of money to buy this equipment, or does the money that they make from like the crops that they sell and stuff like that really go towards them having this type of equipment? Like,
what happens on those big pieces of equipment, you know, very little money changes hands in a lot of cases. You know, the way the taxes are set up and the way the machinery companies have financial institutions supporting them, having their own finance companies, you know, farmers in a lot of cases actually lease the equipment. So they pay a lease equipment because that lease equipment then can be taxed written off instead of spending $1 million of capital buying a tractor. So they, in a lot of cases, the machinery companies are interested in moving iron. So they'll encourage farmers to trade up every couple of years, the bigger farmers, so that the smaller farmers can buy the used equipment. I've known salesmen, John Deere salesmen, or any tractor company salesman, to have one tractor. This farmer up here, the bigger one, he wants a new tractor, so he's got a trade in. And then there's another farmer, and I've noticed where they've actually done 5 trade-ins all the way down. From the top guy, he buys a new tractor, his goes to another farmer, that farmer's tractor goes somewhere else, and that one goes somewhere else. So that's kind of really ingenuity in making sure that farmers and it's all about cash flow, it's all about how big your farm is and how much crop you need to put in. I mean, we have 30,000 acre farmers, and we have, like my brother and his son, 1,500 acre farmers. And so, the difference between the 1,500 acre farmer nowadays is he has one tractor. The 30,000 acre farmer may have 5 or 6.
Wow.
And so that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's good that there are there's ways for these farmers to lease stuff instead of just buying the equipment, which is a
That's
lot of
right.
money, for sure. But let's move away from equipment. Let's just talk about the wind and how that's affected agriculture in Manitoba with just the wind that we've been seeing on some hot days as well as just any day.
Yeah, the wind has been it can be very destructive depending again how consistent and how much it's what velocity it's coming in at. I mean, I think we talked about the last time on June 6th when we had wind twisters come into different farms and take down buildings and so forth. And that's all fine. I mean, insurance companies are there to help and people to clean up. But the crops that are standing, just you take for example, it's 38 degrees Celsius, and the crop is sitting out there on a dry field, black field, and the winds come, and you know what it does to you and me.
Yeah.
We get wind. I get wind burn very, very quickly. While the crops are out there, and especially if they're not growing as healthy as they have been in the past. With the kind of moisture conditions we've had, there's been all kinds. So yeah, the wind can damage the crops in various ways, and so sometimes it'll take the crop out. Sometimes it'll just damage it so that when the crop is setting different stages in order to keep developing to where we want it to go, the wind can come at the wrong time and knock off things that the plant needs in order to develop further. So yes, the wind is really damaging, especially when it's hot wind and it's strong velocity.
Let's speak about the rain now. I had a chance to look at your Twitter, and you retweeted some stuff about farmers saying the rain that we've gotten is nice, but we still need more. Just speak about what I guess I'm not sure if it's rained much in the past week, but how's the rain situation look? So
well, the biggest rains we had were the week before we talked last Monday. Then we had some significant rainfalls, on average of 1.5 to 2 inches, even 3 inches in some places, which was super. But since then, we've only had showers locally at different places. We've had really no rain to speak of here in Winkler, and so we're still waiting for the crop. As they said, the last time the crop was in survival mode, it gave it the extra time to continue to develop. But now again, we're into that survival mode to take it to the next level. So we're really short in not all places. We have some places that have good moisture. But here in southern Manitoba, to where I live, from here to Winnipeg, various areas, it varies from field to field and from farm to farm. But on average, we need a couple of inches of rain really quickly now in order to salvage a good crop instead of a mediocre crop.
yeah, just no doubt about that for sure. The more rain, the better, I would say. For sure,
Yeah,
in
totally.
times like this. But we're going to leave you off with this one, Harry. We're going to start making a tradition. It's the farming tip of the week with Harry Siemens. What's your farming tip of the week for farmers out there in Manitoba?
The farming tip is first of all, my hat off to the managers, the farmers that are out there doing this job day after day. And my tip is basically stay with what you're doing. A lot of farmers are used to what's going on, but this year is special. So it means that the other tip of part of that is, if you need some emotional help, some mental health, because they're all human, look for it. Look for whatever help you can get in order to make sure you continue on the right path.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I love the message, Harry. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's edition of the Farm Report on Rise and Shine Manitoba. We'll see you again next week, and I'm sure we'll have some more updates in the world of agriculture.
Totally. You bet.
All right, Harry Siemens, the man on the farm report, joining me on this morning on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Now, what we're going to do now is it's going to be an introduction of a new segment. I'm pretty sure I talked about it earlier, a bit in the show, touched on it. Let me just write it out here for you guys to see. This is going to be an official segment that we will be doing every Monday morning at either the end or the start of our shows. We'll be doing it at the end of today's show, of course, as you guys are seeing it. Now, it's Graham's opinion. And basically what Graham's opinion is, when we put out the tweet, the post on Facebook and Instagram, we announced that we were doing Graham's opinion on this edition of the show. And I said, it's just me giving my opinion on various different topics in sports. But I thought about it, and it's my opinion. Why not talk about just about anything to a certain extent? Of course, nothing inappropriate here, but we're going to start off with the NHL playoffs. Just what's been happening. Both series right now tied at 2 apiece. Vegas tied it in Montreal yesterday at 2 apiece with that big OT win with the goal by Nicholas Raw. And just talking about how the series has gone so far. The Knights took game 1 with the 4-1 win. Vegas outshot the Habs 30-29 in that game. They went 0-for-4 on the power play, led in blocks with 16-5, and also in giveaways. So Vegas didn't really play a disciplined game with the puck. Montreal had a better face-off percentage with a 56 percentage to a 44 percentage. They were 1-for-3 on the man advantage. It was 52-44 for hits with them, and they had less giveaways. The Canadians also outshot the Knights in the first and third periods. So a surprising game at the start for Montreal. I'm going to be honest, I had Montreal getting swept just because of how strong of a team Vegas is, and just of the trend of what's been happening. Of course, the Winnipeg Jets swept the Edmonton Oilers, and then they end up getting swept. And that's kind of been a trend that we've been seeing throughout the past few years in the playoffs, dating back to that one year where Tampa got swept against the Columbus Blue Jackets, even though the Blue Jackets didn't get swept in the next series. We saw the New York Islanders, I'm pretty sure that season, sweep the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then I believe the Hurricanes swept them, and then the Hurricanes got swept, and then the team that swept the Hurricanes were the Bruins, and they ended up losing. So teams who sweep, as dominant as they were in their series before, haven't really had much success moving forward, but it's looking like Montreal is trying to change this, and it looked like they really came out and made a statement game in game 2, tying up the series with a 3-2 win after being up 3-0 at one point in that game. The Habs in game 2 outshot the Golden Knights 31-23, had a better face-off percentage with 58% to 42%. No power plays, outhit Vegas again 53-45, had more blocks at 26-18, and same number of giveaways at 10-for-5 for Vegas. Montreal dominated the shot department in the first 12-4, and then Vegas outshot Montreal in periods 2-3. So another great start for Montreal in that game. Of course, Vegas pushed back in periods 2 and 3, but weren't able to get that winning result. So series is tied at this point, heading back into Montreal, and Montreal ends up taking game 3, 3-2 in OT to go up 2-1 in the series. In this game, Vegas led twice, didn't trail going into overtime at all. They opened up the scoring with a goal from Nicholas Raw, who's been absolutely amazing in this series in the second, and then Cole Caulfield answered right back 38 seconds later. And then in the third period, Alex Pietrangelo scored early in the third to regain the Knights' lead, and then Josh Anderson, which was the TSN turning point of the game on his goal, capitalized on a flurry blunder to tie the game late in the third. Anderson finished off a nice passing play into OT as well to put the Habs up 2-1 in their series. Vegas dominated this game on the stat sheet, outshot the Habs 45-27. I'm pretty sure at one point in the first period, Vegas didn't allow a shot for a significant amount of time. They held the Habs to only 8 shots in the first 2 periods. They had a better face-off percentage this time with 51% to 49%. One more block with 21 to 20, and they had less giveaways with 15 to the Canadiens' 25. Both teams failed to score on the power play. Vegas went 0-4 and Montreal went 0-2. That was another big stat line in that game, I'd say. And then what happens in game 4 yesterday, the big storyline heading in is Vegas switching to Robin Lehner. Of course, last time Lehner started in these playoffs, he ended up getting absolutely pounded by the Colorado Avalanche in that first game. But Leonard comes into this game and does very well, but Montreal opened up the scoring in the second with a Paul Byron beauty breakaway goal. Vegas then tied the game with a Braden McNabb goal just over the halfway mark in the third. Nicholas Roy ends up scoring the winner in OT to tie the series in a very crucial game 4, and Montreal in this game ended up outshooting Vegas 28-21, outshot them in all 3 regulation periods, but Vegas outshot them 3-0 in OT. The Habs outhit them. They had more blocks, but they had more giveaways as well. Vegas had a better face-off percentage at 56-44. So it's been an interesting series so far. Just looking at the storylines, both teams have split their homestands, so both teams are not undefeated at home in this series. It's going to be a very crucial game 5. Vegas has failed to score on a goal on the man advantage, 0-11 on the power play. Montreal's PK, well, it's been absolutely perfect. I'm pretty sure it's been perfect for the last 10 games, if I'm not mistaken. I saw a stat like that, but it's been pretty near perfect. I think they're at like 92%. They got the best PK in the whole playoffs right now. Of course, Carey Price doing Carey Price things, a 29 save performance on 31 shots faced in game 2. And of course, a 43 save performance on, I believe it was 45 shots faced in game 3, something crazy like that. So he's been unbelievable. A huge reason as to why Montreal won that game 3, obviously. And yeah, he's going to be huge for Montreal's success moving forward, obviously. Of course, he's been their MVP, their Conn Smythe winner if they end up winning the cup and going there. And for Vegas, switching to Lehner paid off huge. Like I said last time, before he was in net for game 4, he got pumped by the Avs, letting in 7 goals. This time around, he saved 27 shots of 28 shots faced. And one more storyline, or a few more, is just the Knights' offense coming from the back end. 70% of the 10 Vegas goals, so 7 of the 10 Vegas goals have come from defensemen on this team. The refs, what can I say? They've been awful in both series, very inconsistent with their calls. The young talent for Montreal, guys like Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, that line's been very good with Tyler Toffoli. Another line that has been physical. I'm not sure how many stats they put up, but that line of Perry, Armia, and what's his name? I forget the other player that plays on the line. But yeah, Montreal, they're big boys. I guess their depth has really been showing for sure at times in this playoffs. Like the fourth line went in and dominated the Winnipeg Jets, something I don't really want to talk about. But yeah, an unlikely hero as well for the Vegas Golden Knights, Nicholas Roy, stepping up when guys like Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty aren't putting the puck in the net in those big moments in this series, and a guy like Marchessault isn't stepping up. And yeah, those are what I'd say are the storylines. Now, who is going to win this series? Well, Montreal has shown that they can hang with the best in the league. Don't forget, Vegas only lost out on the President's Trophy to Colorado based on a tiebreak. If Montreal wants to complete the upset, Price needs to continue being Price. They got to continue to capitalize on their chances when they get them. They've been a very opportunistic team in this series. Guys like Caulfield and Suzuki got to continue to bring that extra boost of offense to this team, and the PK has to continue to be strong. However, I do believe that the Vegas Golden Knights, after surviving this game in Game 4 last night, will win this series. Vegas, in my opinion, from top to bottom, is the best team in the NHL. You just look at it, the depth they have up front, the talent they have up front, the depth they have on the back end, the goaltending they have. I mean, people were complaining, I know in my household, about Leonard being in for Vegas, saying it's not the right move. I think we forget about what Leonard has done before. He had a great rise. I forget which team he was playing on when he showed some of his best stuff before coming to Vegas. It's not like they got a scrub behind Fleury. And it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to roll with, because there has been times in this playoffs where Marc-Andre Fleury has looked spectacular and he's looked a bit iffy. You know, I don't think there's an issue going back to Leonard, but there's no issue going back to Fleury. I think they're in a very good position with that. You know, I like Vegas in Game 5 with that home crowd. I think it's going to be absolutely rabid. Vegas has shown in the last 2 games that they're starting to kind of get their opportunities and break Montreal's defense and get in tight to create opportunities for goals. The only way that Vegas is going to, you know, beat Price isn't on a clean shot, not your normal snipe. It's going to be garbage goals in tight. The goals scored yesterday weren't the prettiest. You know, for Vegas, they've, you know, they've been turning the puck over less as well. I think that's a huge thing, keeping better control of the puck. And guys like Nicholas Raw are stepping up, and guys on the back end. You'd have to think that Vegas's big guns are going to step up sooner or later and find that extra gear, and Montreal's PK is going to crack at some point. It's just a matter of time before they let in a few goals and or a goal. And, you know, I'm pretty sure I heard the Habs top pairing of Weber and Edmondson are a bit banged up, and I think that bodes well for Vegas, just of how physical they can be. You're not going to be Price clean, like I said, once again, but I think that Vegas has what it takes to turn it up when it matters most. I like them in Game 5, and I like them to take the series in 6. I got the Knights in 6 to go to the Stanley Cup. Moving on to the Lightning versus Islanders. Sorry, this is the first time doing Graham's opinion. I know I might be a bit long-winded, but we'll get better. It's all about making improvements, right? It's all about making improvements. But talking about the Islanders and Tampa Bay, a rematch from last year's Eastern Conference Final. The Islanders this time take Game 1 with a score of 2-1. Of course, the series is tied, but let's just break down what's happened. The Isles up 2-0 in that first game, until the last minute of the third when Braden Point scored on the PP. The shots were even. The Owls had the better face-off percentages. I'll just roll through this. The Lightning were 1 for 2 on the power play, and the Owls were 0 for 3. Hits pretty much even with the Owls, with one extra hit over the Lightning at 41-40. Also more blocks from the Owls with 13-8, and only one giveaway to Tampa's 7, which I think was huge in that game for sure, which is how pesky these Owls are. But yeah, the Lightning answered back in Game 2 with a 4-2 win. Tampa never trailed in this game. They let in shots 33-26. They had 53-47. The faceoff percentage went to the Owls again in that department, who had the edge there with 53% to 47%. And Tampa went 1 for 5 on the PP, while the Owls went 1 for 4 on the power play. 37-32 in hits for the Isles, 16-8 in blocks for the Isles, and the giveaway totals were even at, I believe it was 4. The Lightning end up taking Game 3 to extend the series, not extend the series, to give them the boost, the edge in the series at that point, winning that game 2-1 to go up 2-1 in the series. And no scoring in the third period, I believe. Tampa never trailed in that game. 28-25 in shots for the Owls in that game. Tampa ended up winning in the face-off department this time at 53% to 47%. No power play goals, only one penalty called for each team, which was surprising because there were a lot of penalties the game before. And, you know, Isles with a more physical game again at 39 hits to 26. Tampa ended up having more blocks this time, kind of taking a page out of the Isles book with 21 blocks to 15 and less giveaways at 14 to New York 16. Now, into game 4, a game that the Isles had to have, at home. They needed to get a win. They couldn't go back to Tampa down 3-1 because the defending champs, I feel like, wouldn't miss at home, to be honest. I think the series would have been over in 5 if that would have been the case if Tampa won. But the Isles come out and do their thing. They were up 3-0 heading into the third period. All Islander goals came in the second. Tampa made it interesting in the third, and it could have gone to OT if it wasn't for, I believe it was Ryan Pollock, his huge save, getting behind Varlamov and saving him, because Varlamov was really aggressive, and that was crazy. It could have gone to overtime in the dying seconds. But yeah, shots were even in this game at 30 apiece. Isles better in the face-off department at 56% to 44%. Isles only gave the Lightning 1 power play, which they didn't score on. Tampa's PK was great as they held New York to 0 goals on 3 power play opportunities. More hits by Tampa, so they were the more physical team this time around at 42 to 36. Isles with more blocks at 17 to 10. Tampa gave the puck away 20 times to the Isles 17. So what are the storylines from this series? Well, score first. The winners in this series of every game have scored first, and they've struck first, and they've won each game. Giveaways. The team, simply put, who gives away the puck less has had the edge in this game. Those pesky Isles, those pesky Islanders. Just looking at the last game in that second period, all Islanders' goals were they capitalized on Tampa mistakes, and that's kind of the way this team plays. They'll survive a lot of pressure with their great defense, with their great goaltending, and then they come back firing. And this is exactly what it seems like the Isles did. Like they're a team that could be absolutely dominated 1 minute and then just explosion the next minute. And we've seen this from them all playoffs long. Tampa's PP, they have the second best PP in all the playoffs behind Colorado, only behind them. They're operating at 37.8% in these playoffs, which is absolutely crazy. The Isles need to continue to stay out of the penalty box as much as possible. The last 2 games, they've done a better job of that. And when they do get in the penalty box, because it's inevitable that Tampa will get their chances, they need to try to shut it down as much as possible, because this PP for Tampa, I'm going to be honest, is really scary. You got a guy like Kucherov on there, Hedman, pretty sure Stammer's on there. Point, just some great talent from that team. And Tampa's depth has been a huge story for me in terms of just different players being able to score. Different players scored in a single game every single time. So there hasn't been a goal scorer that's scored twice in a single game for this team. So who will win the final verdict here? In a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals, these two teams have delivered a series that's going to be exciting to the finish. Like I said, the Isles, last year, they ended up losing that first game in a blowout score. I forget the score exactly, but they come out and answer. That was huge for them. Striking first against Tampa, because I'm going to be honest, if you can get that, any advantage you can on the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's going to bode very well for you. Tampa, looking at Tampa and the Islanders this year loaded up a bit, getting a guy like Zajac and Palmieri at the trade deadline, which was a great move. They didn't give up that much to get those guys either. It was a pretty good trade from what I remember. And, for Tampa, it's a bit different this year. They have a healthy Steven Stamkos, and that's one of the reasons why I picked Tampa Bay. You'll find out in a minute. But yeah, I'm still picking Tampa Bay to win this series. I still prefer their roster as a whole, and that power play is lethal. Guys like Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov are game breakers. And, I think the way the Isles can beat them is striking early and playing with the lead, to be honest. The way the Isles have them locking it down late in games, it's Trotz the way he's been able to do it. If Tampa wants to win this series, they need to continue to capitalize on their chances because of how the Isles can stick around and blow the doors wide open. That being said, I think that Tampa will win this series. I predicted at the start of the playoffs that Vegas and Tampa would meet in the playoffs, in the finals. I'm still sticking with that. I believe it's going to be Vegas and Tampa in the finals, and I got Tampa winning it in 7. Now, it's going to be interesting, and we're going to do some more NHL coverage on Graeme's opinion. It's going to be a lot shorter next time. I'm noticing that the notes that I prepared have made this longer than I thought it would. But that's okay. That's okay. We're testing things out. We're going to leave you off with one more opinion here, and then I'm going to sign off. It's, what is the best season of the year? In my opinion, there is no best season of the year. It's all preference. Because think about it. For example, winter. It's great if you love cold weather. Winter sports like hockey, snowboarding, skiing, etc. But what if you don't like hockey or snowboarding or skiing? And what if you don't like cold weather? What if you like warm weather? Or maybe hot weather? Well, winter isn't for you. But that's okay because there's summer. It's great if you love hot weather. Days at the beach. Maybe a cabin. Maybe you go camping. You got pools, lakes, stuff like that. But a problem people might have is that if you're working really long days in, say, a warehouse or a factory, and there's not much AC, or it's like 30 plus outside, yeah, it's probably not going to be the best for you, to be honest. Yeah, summer might not be the one for you if you're working in an environment like that. But honestly, I don't see many flaws in summer. But there's stuff like, wasps are the worst. And don't even get me started if murder hornets come here to Manitoba. I'm going to cry. Yeah, that would be no good. Those things absolutely terrify me. But yeah, that's the downside of summer is just mosquitoes and insects like wasps. That's definitely a downside, but I think like for that, the pros heavily outweigh the cons. But let's continue here. Fall, if you love a mix of warm and cold weather, hoodies and sweats, warmer clothing in general, because even though it's going to be warmer, it's probably going to be colder in the nights. It's a great time. Like, you can have them any time of year, but a bonfire is a great activity to have. Maybe have some friends over, of course. Of course, following the restrictions, of course, that too is what you need to do. But yeah, honestly, not much downside about fall. Honestly, it's just that maybe if you love summer, it's not summer anymore, but it is a bit colder, and maybe you're not a hoodie or sweats type of person. But yeah, that's fall. And spring, I just kind of dotted these notes down and had them ready to prepare. But yeah, it's just kind of my opinion, right? Because it is Graeme's opinion, hey, hence the name. But for spring, if you love unpredictable weather, really sloppy with melting snow, some days it could be rainy, some days it could be warm, some days it could be snowy. You'll mostly probably wear long sleeve clothing, hoodies, maybe you still rocking the toque. You're gonna dress warmer probably. So in conclusion of this segment of Graeme's opinion, yeah, there is no best season. Unbiasedly, it's only biased opinions, and this is a biased opinion here, of course, because it is Graeme's opinion. My favorite season, honestly, it's a tie between summer and winter. I could, those are definitely my top. I love all the seasons. They all offer something awesome. They all offer something different in a way. But for me, winter and summer are my favorites because I love going out to the cabin and swimming in the lake, swimming in pools. Might start tanning this year, so that could be nice. Always I feel like that'll be a fun activity for sure, especially doing it with my girlfriend. That'll be fun. But for winter, as you know, I grew up playing hockey. I love hockey. It's my favorite sport. And yeah, there's no ODRs in the summertime or the springtime or the fall time, and winter is that time. Of course, it's the most wonderful time of the year at Christmas time, around then when there's the World Juniors. What else? There's Christmas. If you're an American, honestly, this falls in the fall category, but if you are American and you're watching this, you know, that's like when Thanksgiving pretty much is, when winter is starting up, get into the months, even though it's not technically winter then. But yeah, when there's snow and stuff, that's when I say I call it winter, even though it's not in months like November. But yeah, you know, just love winter because of hockey, because of the snow. I love the snow, and I don't mind the cold weather. There's a lot of great sports on as the winter months go on. In January and February, we got NFL playoffs. The NHL season starts heating up, the World Juniors, stuff like that. So in conclusion, summer and winter are, in my opinion, the best seasons, but they're my opinion. It's a preference. There is no best season. I hope you guys agree with that. So that's going to do it for this edition of Graeme's Opinion on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. I am noticing the time. Wow, I rambled on quite a long time. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll have Graeme's Opinion, a shorter version of it, next week. And yeah, we're going to be joined by some more great guests. Of course, Harry Siemens will be on for another edition of the Farm Report. I want to thank Harry for coming on the show today. I also want to thank our other guests in Adam Wedlake, Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, and Isaak Fast, a volleyball player that was named to Canada's U21 national team roster. I also want to thank all the viewers, you the viewer, for tuning in today to this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. And I want to thank our sponsors as well. And of course, if you guys want a chance to win a $100 gift card giveaway, I'm not going to say the whole stick. Just look in the link in our bio. It'll give you all the information, or the link of the description, or the description of this episode will have links to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for you guys to enter there. Special thanks to our sponsors, of course. I'll be back next Monday for another edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. We'll be announcing the winner of the gift card giveaway. We'll have some more great guests for you guys. You can watch that edition of the show on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, or on our website at astvproductions.com. Pretty sure we got episodes on Twitter now. I just haven't figured out how to put them on, but yeah, maybe on Twitter too, at Amateur Sports TV. Stay tuned for that. I'll be back tomorrow for a live edition on the network of Coffee with Graeme at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time on Facebook and our website. So yeah, be sure to check out that show tomorrow. Be sure to check out all the other great shows here on the network, and be sure to tune in to Rise and Shine Manitoba next Monday at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Until then, folks, I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth, signing off now. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Monday morning and hearing me rambling on Graeme's Opinion and talking to the great guests that we had on. Stay safe out there, and until next Monday, I'll see you then. Peace. Have a good one.